May police conduct routine parole or probation searches in the middle of the night in California? All right, guys, this question obviously comes from an officer in California. And look, he wants to talk about like proactive policing when it comes to probation searches. So he's saying, hey, look, what about doing proactive probation searches in the middle of the night or like early in the morning, like between like 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And we know that these probationers have valid search terms for narcotics and so forth. And sometimes the cops will stop these people on a traffic stop and, search their car. And then they know that they live locally, right? They live at a hotel right down the street, whatever, inside the city limits. And they will take these people back to their hotel, probably a motel. You know the difference between a motel and a hotel? A hotel has inside hallways. A motel has the doors facing the outside. That's not where I stay, right? They'll roll back there. They'll also search the room or the apartment, for example. So, all right. So what about though is like having random probation searches at the residence without this rollback issue between, super late at night, early in the morning, particularly when there are hundreds of probationers in the city, but only 2 or 3 of the probationers are being selected for probation searches. Does that cause a problem? Let's look at the law. Number one is that I want you to know that California has very, very powerful probation and parole searches, some of the most powerful laws in the country. In California, you do not need reasonable suspicion to conduct a parole or probation search on a person. All you need is to have a reason to believe that that search is related to their conditions of release. All right. However, if the searches are being conducted for harassment reasons or being done in an arbitrary or unreasonable manner, then we have a problem. So, what is a search conducted for harassment, right? This is a case called United States versus King, 9th Circuit, 2013. It is only when the motivation for the search is wholly arbitrary, when it is based merely on a whim or caprice. That means like just kind of to harass somebody, right? With no logic, no foundation, or when there is no reasonable claim of a legitimate law enforcement purpose. For example, an officer decides on a whim to stop the next red car he or she sees. That a search based on probation search condition is unlawful, right? Nor do we condone searches that are conducted for illegitimate reasons, such as harassment. Now, here is an example of an unreasonable search. This comes from several California cases: People versus Reyes, People versus Clower, 1993, and so forth. So this is also from a search and seizure manual from Robert Phillips. He does a great job with some of this stuff in California. He says, he talks about Fourth Amendment searches have been held to be unreasonable if conducted too often at an unreasonable time, when it is unreasonably prolonged, or for any other reasons establishing arbitrary or oppressive conduct by the searching officers, right? A search is arbitrary or oppressive when the motivation for the search is unrelated to the rehabilitative, reformative, or legitimate law enforcement purpose, or when the search is motivated by personal animosity towards the parolee or probationer. getting back to our question at hand, guys, I do see a problem here, right? I understand that the motive is to try to, these guys often have, personal use dope on them. But if we went to court on this and we saw banging on doors at 2:00 in the morning, you better have, I think you need to have a reason for that. That is an unreasonable time. Now, the rollbacks, taking them back to the motel when they're up, when you get them on a traffic stop, I do not see such a big deal on that. I really don't. I don't think the court necessarily is going to have an issue with that. But I do have an issue with waking them up in the middle of the night without any other reason to believe that they're sitting on narcotics or contraband. Just to do it is a problem based off of the case law that I'm reading to you. Especially if the court believes that it's happening as a matter of routine, 2 to 3 times, and it's only these certain people. The court is going to push back on you and say, you know what? At this point, because it's so targeted, you're going to need reasonable suspicion. Do you have reasonable suspicion? No? Okay, we have a problem. That's my advice. So if it's targeted like that, not just random, like a traffic stop, but if it's targeted, I would like you to have a reason why you are waking these guys up at 2:00 in the morning. I want to share with you another thing that, take it for what it's worth. California, again, has the best parole and probation search law in the country. Do not overstay your welcome in a state like California. Don't push the courts in a corner where they say, you know what, cops, we don't trust you with this incredible authority, right? Now you're going to need something more than just the person's on paper and a lawful contact. You don't want to overstay your welcome. You already have it good. Don't overstay your welcome. The courts out there in California are always looking for reasons to make your job harder. Don't give them the rope, right? So that's my opinion on it. I see some issues. I would pull back a little bit and just maybe use some other law enforcement techniques to enforce your laws. All right. Guys, if you like what I'm doing, you know how this works. Like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. Until next time, guys, stay safe and thank you.